Hey, what's going on, all you beautiful people out there? I am back with another reaction video, and of course, we're delving deep into another history video by Sabaton, The Road to Srebrenica. I'm not really sure if that's how you say it. Like I said, I'm not very cultured, so I don't know how to say things from the Middle East or from Europe or from, other countries. I'm gonna get the words a little jumbled up. Please forgive me, just work with me. Those who call me ignorant, please educate me. That's all I ask. If you're gonna call me ignorant, at least educate me in the same sentence so I can no longer become ignorant. I will become educated. Or I'd rather be educated than ignorant. Anyways, I would also like to thank all my Patreon supporters out there, all my beautiful clouds who decided to help support my channel. I really do appreciate every single one of you guys. I know I've been slacking a little bit, but I'm gonna get back on the horse now that my life is stabilizing a little bit. I'm gonna get back on the horse, baby. I'm gonna trot our way to victory. Yes, we are. If you'd like to support my channel, the link is down below. I'd like to create a nice little community. I really want a community of people. I'm gonna try starting a Discord very soon. Create my own server. I just don't know how to make some private for just the clouds and others public for everybody else. All that. I think I kind of know how, but I don't know what the content is. Like, I don't know how to do it or what to put in it. Anyways, Jay's gonna shut up so we can watch The Road to Srebrenica. Like I said, please forgive me on the lingo, and I'm probably gonna write a whole lot because this is a topic all new to me. I'm telling you, I've heard of Yugoslavia, of course, but I don't know nothing of their history. So this is actually be very, not entertaining, but I'm definitely gonna hold my attention. So shut up, Jay. Let's hop right on in.
Most of Sabaton's songs cover events that are many decades or even centuries old.
But some are more in the recent memory, including We Burn.
I've had a vision, it's clear to me now. I know what has to be done. Different religions cannot share a land. A plague, and I have the cure.
Well, a lot of people said too, or that not. I mean, I'm not gonna say they gave me flack, but they kind of thought it was funny that I just instantly thought of Christianity. I already told you guys in the other song, you can tell why I thought of Christianity at first. Every song I heard from Sabaton so far, when they speak of a religion, it's usually about Christians. So of course there's other religions out there. No, my minds, if I never heard of Sabaton naming a song regarding religion, I would have never thought instantly Christianity. But because they do tend to just poke mainly at Christianity, at least for the songs I've heard from so far, hey, you can't blame the guy, right? So anyways, we're about to get educated right now.
Srebrenica in the summer of 1995. Srebrenica in the summer of 1995.
Here we go.
Once it had been a peaceful little mountain town, far away from Yugoslavian politics. Now it was one of the last 3 government-held enclaves in eastern Bosnia.
Also, I also read in the comment section that I guess a lot of people blame Serbia about this. I don't know anything about that. I'm gonna go in completely not knowing, so whatever I'm gonna learn is from Indy.
Politics. Now it was one of the last 3 government-held enclaves in eastern Bosnia. Under the formal protection of the United Nations, more than 40,000 Bosniak refugees were living there in abysmal conditions. The municipal services had broken down, and the electricity was mostly out. Garbage was stacked up in the summer heat, and medical services were stretched to the maximum. But worst of all was the constant fear in which the refugees had to live. They were well aware that Serbian artillery was being aimed at them. For 44 years, Radovan Karadzic had lived a rather ordinary life.
Okay, and also heard, I think, in the comment section that this gentleman had passed away recently.
As a teenager, he moved from Montenegro to Sarajevo, the capital of the Socialist Republic of Bosnia and Herzegovina in Yugoslavia, to study medicine. And he had initially shown no signs of political ambitions or activism. The change for him, and many thousands of others, came in 1990 with the collapse of Yugoslavia's communist regime. The spark of democratic participation ignited the region. The new multi-party democracies in Slovenia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and Croatia began to vote at first for greater autonomy and eventually for full independence from Yugoslavia itself.
Nice. So in the 90s, it sparked pretty much democracy, huh? After communism fell there.
The Serbs in those regions began to push for their own cultural autonomy, sometimes to the point of territorial separatism. Karadzic got involved in the political scene. He was a founder of the Serb Democratic Party, SDS, which aimed to establish Serbian autonomous regions within Bosnia-Herzegovina. At first, Karadzic regarded the party as a path to personal recognition, power, and fame. His natural charisma and rhetorical eloquence as a leader of the SDS, already by the end of 1990, got him the attention of Serbian leader Slobodan Milosevic, who later made him the chief Bosnian Serb recruiter for the coming war against Croatia. Milosevic was, in many ways, the political mentor and sponsor of Karadzic, inspiring him to push for a new course of radical separation of Serbian territory from Bosnia. Over the next years, the conflict between the Serbs and the seceding nations grew into a full-scale war.
Okay, so it's pretty much Serbia versus the seceding nations. Okay. All right, so far, I think.
Conflict between the Serbs and the seceding nations grew into a full-scale war. As the conflict grew more extreme, so did Karadzic's views, going from a Serb-dominated Yugoslav state to a standalone Serb state within Bosnia to finally a fully separated Serbian entity devoid of the Muslim Bosnians, the Bosniaks. They, Karadzic believed, should, like all other non-Serbs, disappear from the land that was rightfully his.
Well, sound a little bit like Hitler-esque, huh? Just a tad bit.
In which he openly threatened the Bosniaks with violence. In May 1992, shortly after Bosnia-Herzegovina declared its independence from Yugoslavia, the first Serb paramilitary forces crossed the Drina and committed atrocities against non-Serbs in northeastern Bosnia. Karadzic prepared for armed conflict with cool calculation. He had, though, no burning ideological hatred for the Bosniaks or Croats, but saw the populist nationalist cause strictly tied to his own political career. He was simply accepted as the leader of the party by his popularity among the Bosnian Serbs, and was voted president of Republika Srpska, the Bosnian Serb administration, in 1992. But to follow through with his threats, Karadzic needed a man to provide him with an organized military force that was willing to carry them out. Such a man was General Ratko Mladic.
Wow, so he actually wanted to do what he's about to do, huh? Follow the orders.
Who led the army of the Republika Srpska, the VRS for short. Karadzic and Mladic had a difficult partnership. While Karadzic was the educated politician who wore expensive suits while he talked to international diplomats, Mladic was the soldier, willing to get his hands dirty. During the early stages of the Bosnian War, they frequently praised each other and pledged their support for the same cause. But it didn't take long for them to argue about strategy. After Mladic's soldiers had finally seized the route over Mount Igman after weeks of terrible fighting in order to besiege Sarajevo, Karadzic was willing to give it up for international recognition. Mladic refused, and the power struggle between the two began. Fighting, but it didn't take long for them to argue about strategy. After Mladic's soldiers had finally seized the route over Mount Igman after weeks of terrible fighting in order to besiege Sarajevo, Karadzic was willing to give it up for international recognition. Mladic refused.
Why would giving it up gain him international recognition? Just to show that, oh, look what I did. I took all that fighting, all the men that we sacrificed. Oh, but here, we'll give it back. Like, I'm the good guy here. I'm not that bad. I don't get it.
And the power struggle between the two began. Karadzic wanted to be in full control of the war, while Mladic wanted Karadzic's fame. Both aspired to be the champion of the Bosnian Serbs, and the ensuing rivalry swayed between cooperation and competition, as each tried to outperform the other in promoting the Serb nationalist utopia. They drove each other to ever more extreme measures. The same went for the Bosnian Serb Assembly, which became an echo chamber and further radicalized the ideas of violence against the Bosniaks. The wars continued into 1995, even after a ceasefire had been negotiated and UN peacekeeping forces had gotten involved. In the spring offensive that year, the VRS was losing ground quickly, with ever more losses against the Croatian and Bosnian Herzegovinian forces. The international community demanded the end of the siege around Sarajevo, with increased bombing missions against Serbian artillery positions.
Chase them down, let them suffer in pain. Dig
Karadzic, fearing the demise of his dream, further radicalized. He ordered a new strategy of harassment and humiliation against the UN peacekeepers. International citizens were fired upon. The houses of diplomats were shelled, and soldiers were taken hostage. Karadzic, fearing the demise of his dream, further radicalized. He ordered a new strategy of harassment and humiliation against the UN peacekeepers. International citizens were fired upon. The houses of diplomats were shelled, and soldiers were taken hostage.
By Karadzic's men? What the UN do? Oh, they're probably gonna say, well, what the heck did they do in response to that?
Many were handcuffed as human shields to munition depots or bridges around Sarajevo to prevent the bombing of those areas. These war crimes were intended to shock public opinion into demanding the withdrawal from these fighting zones. There were terror attacks in Zagreb and Sarajevo, often using illegal weaponry like cluster bombs or modified ammunition against civilians. It was a success, as the UN buckled to popular outrage and suspended its airstrikes, though it was short-lived. But it allowed Mladic to continue his siege around Sarajevo. Karadzic went even further. Upon the suspension of the bombing campaign, he declared all UN resolutions as invalid, and that foreign troops held no power in Bosnia anymore.
Anyone, we do not recognize United Nations CAO as a factor of peace.
Anyone who still thought otherwise might have an accident very soon. But the fortunes of war began to turn ever more against the Bosnian Serbs. And as the assembly demanded its leaders turn the war around and lead them to victory, Karadzic and Mladic began pointing fingers. Well, they saw their vision crumble. In late June 1995, Radovan Karadzic made a surprise visit to the headquarters of the heavily armed Drina Corps at Vlasenica. He was now directly bypassing Mladic's authority and ordered an immediate attack against Srebrenica. The destruction of the enclave there could bring the propaganda victory he needed. Karadzic made sure that the army understood that the Bosniaks there were to be removed, never to return. He boasted that once Srebrenica was captured, they would, quote, chase the Turks around the woods. On July 6th, the VRS began their ground attack. Srebrenica was heavily shelled, and the Serbian infantry advanced on the outer perimeters of the enclave. The only thing that stood between the unarmed Bosniaks and the approaching Serbs was the lightly armed Dutch peacekeepers, reduced to only 429 soldiers, of which around half were actual fighting troops. The Dutch had a few armored vehicles.
Okay, so the Dutch were actually the only one standing in between. So if they attacked the Dutch peacekeepers, wouldn't that initiate a war? Like if you fire upon troops that are trying to keep the peace?
But neither enough
sent by the UN
actual fighting troops. The Dutch had a few armored vehicles, but neither enough fuel nor enough ammunition to withstand an attack. Nor did they have the authorization to get engaged until they themselves were attacked.
Well, that's what was about to happen, right? Because they just launched an attack on Srebrenica.
The outer Dutch observation post surrendered on the 8th, and on the 11th, Karadzic declared the town center taken. In the chaos.
So was there even fighting, or they just give up right away? I'm not going to say they gave up right away, because I don't know what happened. Was there even fighting? And if there was fighting, like I said, isn't that an initiation of war? That UN troops were targeted.
And fear, thousands of Bosniaks tried to get into the last remaining UN-controlled area on the outskirts of the town. But the UN was powerless to help them. The Serbs soon took over. Mladic arrived in the evening, and although the battle for the town had already been won, he took command of the military forces. He was furious at Karadzic's victory, but was well aware that the taking of Srebrenica was just the first step in his plan. Trying to be part of the victory, Mladic went out to the refugees and made the false promise that no one would be hurt if they surrendered peacefully. His troops began separating the men from the women, telling them they would soon be resettled in Bosnia. While the women were driven away packed in buses, the Bosniak men were driven out in the fields and murdered in cold blood. Most of them were gunned down, others stabbed, or even buried alive by the VRS soldiers. Their instructions had been clear: find and kill, no prisoners. Thousands of Bosniak
Why only the? I'm not glad. Why only the men though? Yo, this dude is evil. It's like every bad guy in the movie. Oh, if you surrender, well, it's okay. We won't, you won't come into any harm. Just trickery and deceit. Now that is tough. That is tough. So that was Mlad. Whenever they say the two names, I get confused because they sound similar. Yes, forgive me, okay? So there's Karadzic, and then there's Mladic. Ratko Mladic and Radovan Karadzic. Dang. And who was this again that said that?
taking of Srebrenica was just the first step in his plan. Trying to be part of the victory, Mladic went out to the refugees and made the false promise
that was Ratko Mladic. Okay.
No one would be hurt if they surrendered peacefully. His troops began separating the men from the women, telling them they would soon be resettled in Bosnia. While the women were driven away packed in buses, the Bosniak men were driven out in the fields and murdered in cold blood. Most of them were gunned down, others stabbed, or even buried alive by the VRS soldiers. Their instructions had been clear: find and kill, no prisoners. Thousands of Bosniak men had fled Srebrenica and gathered in the woods, intending to reach Tuzla by foot. With the help of soldiers from the Bosnian-Herzegovinian army, they attempted a breakout. However, they did not get far before they were spotted and ambushed. Many were gunned down as they tried to flee through the woods. Those who surrendered were pressed into warehouses and forced to give up their money to the guards. Those guards then opened fire with automatic weapons and threw hand grenades on the heaps of dead bodies. More than 8,000 people, mostly men and boys, were slaughtered in the days following the fall of Srebrenica. Many refugees were tortured before their deaths, and there were cases of rape and violence against women. All throughout the region, Bosnians were murdered and bulldozed into mass graves. It was the bloodiest massacre and crime against humanity Europe had seen since the end of the Second World War, and it had been planned and carried out by Radovan Karadzic and Ratko Mladic in their hope to create a utopian ethno-state. As early as November 1995, the UN called for their indictment on the grounds of mass murder, which was later elevated to genocide. The two did not deny their involvement. On the contrary, they proudly boasted of it in front of their fellows.
I mean, it's kind of hard not to deny it because you're in everything, trying to outdo each other. It clearly shows the soldiers aren't doing it by themselves. They're following orders. These guys, man, holy camole, over what? Over what? Just for like the pride of their country or what? I don't even, hold on.
Involvement, on the contrary, they proudly boasted of it in front of their fellows, but both refused to give themselves up and evaded the law for more than a decade. Karadzic was eventually captured in 2008, Mladic in 2011. To this day, the exact number of people killed at Srebrenica and in the Bosnian War is still unknown. Although the whole post-Yugoslavian conflict is extremely complicated, and Srebrenica and in the Bosnian War is still unknown. Although the whole post-Yugoslavian conflict is extremely complicated and especially hard to explain, and certainly a sensitive topic, it serves as a reminder how dangerously extreme ethnic and religious conflicts can become if they are left unchecked. It also serves as a warning to the international community that there is a duty to us as that community to prevent such things from happening. Many thought this lesson learned after the Second World War. Srebrenica proved them wrong.
Genocide will drag me to court. There's no crime if you do not get caught. I am the law we burn.
People have a tendency, I suppose it's a general tendency, when they look at wars and battles, they think of things in terms of black and white, right?
Yeah, we often get this thing like, okay, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. But you have to also see that every bad
Like I said, that comment said that they're upset that Serbia was taking all the blame, but I don't know, from this whole thing, it really does seem like it, but I don't know what's the other side, what's the flip of the coin, you know? They just said, oh, okay, there's a bad guy, there's a good guy. Seems like right now, you know, that there are some clear bad guys. But like I said, what's the flip side?
are the good guys, these are the bad guys. But you have to also see that every battle, every conflict and stuff have so many different sides. And both sides, it might seem complicated for the external part, but for the people inside of it, it cannot very often be, this is the right way of going.
Right. Well, yeah, okay, I grew up in the United States. We learn in our schools, in all of our wars, we're the good guys. And whoever we happen to be fighting, well, they're the bad guys. But that's what you would learn pretty much, well, not everywhere. I mean...
I was gonna say, yeah, well, if you're born in a country, of course, to stoke pride and not to, you know, bear shame, no matter what subject you're going to teach, if you're in a part of a war, that country's going to teach, hey, we were the good guys. Everybody else was the bad guys. Makes sense.
We're in...
I don't know what it's probably censored, but I don't know what they teach in Germany about World War II. But it makes sense that every country, of course, does not want to take full blame. And they're not going to call themselves the bad guys. Who wants to be known as the bad guys?
Germany right now, they're not teaching them in schools that they were the good guys in the 1940s. But as a general idea, you do learn, except for darker chapters of your history, you do learn that you're the good guys, you know?
Yeah, and but when you look at the war in the Balkans, it becomes, I mean, at the time when we were, you know, receiving the informations from the televisions in Sweden and stuff, it was very, you know, one angle towards it.
Right.
As we go along with Sabaton, we discover the different angles of specifically a thing like this, because also we have a lot of people, fans of us, that have experienced this in a recent time.
Firsthand. Yeah, sure. Now, there's something interesting about the actual song, because it is a dark song and a dark topic.
Very dark.
But the
I didn't realize how dark it was, you know?
solo,
Pretty much like they said, post World War II. It was like the end of World War II all over. I'm not even gonna say the end of World War II. Pretty much how the height of Nazism, taking people, killing them. I mean, they didn't kill the women, but they did treat them pretty bad. I'm pretty sure that some women were killed as well. I mean, it's kind of hard not to just target just the males. I wonder why they just targeted the males. Is it because they had some kind of moral, you know, click in their head, like, hey, we can't do this to the women? They did it to the male children. So I don't know.
the actual song, because it is a dark song and a dark
Very
topic.
dark.
But the solo, the guitar solo, can we hear a bit of the guitar solo?
Man, he's gonna get this video copyrighted.
Okay, you see what I mean? Can you?
It doesn't really fit in there. Okay, so when we are writing this song and writing the lyrics, it's very dark. It's very like, okay, the song is heavy, the lyrics are dark. And then it was Oscar who was working on the guitar solo for this one. He wasn't aware of the topic of the song.
Oh, you didn't know the lyrics?
No. He thought it's gonna be a very heroic, like...
I don't know all my video game nerds out there. I'm a nerd too, so don't take offense when I say that, but it kind of reminds me of maybe Dynasty Warriors music, you know, when you're playing as the guy and you guys are fighting everybody. That kind of music that's what it seems like. So yeah, you can say like heroic fight music.
Oh, you didn't know the lyrics?
No. He thought it's gonna be a very heroic, like party song.
Okay.
So when we added the solo together with the lyrics, we're like, oh, but it was a really good guitar solo.
Yeah, sure.
So, and somehow we also felt that maybe it de-weaponizes a little bit the darkness of the song. And maybe the song needed something like that. So, but today when we listen to it, we feel that maybe the solo doesn't belong there.
But have people ever written into you or asked you about the solo, or is it just something that you guys really notice more than
I think that's something that only maybe the Sabaton themselves notice. I don't think fans will go be like, hey,
the fans?
this solo, what are you doing? I mean, maybe, but I don't see that happening.
We notice it. I have never seen any bad comments from anyone out there that, oh, this is such a dark.
Kind of hard to pick at art when you yourself aren't creating jack. So I don't think Sabaton fans really nail them that hard. Be like, this solo doesn't fit, you know.
Seen any bad comments from anyone out there that, oh, this is such a dark topic, and then comes the cheerful solo.
So, do you guys ever play this one live these days when you have like Tommy and Chris as guitarists?
Actually, it's a song we never performed live, and it wasn't very one of the more
I know there's certain songs that they do shy away from playing live.
popular songs. And also it comes from the album Atere Dominatus, which, funny enough, except for the Metalizer, is our least popular album.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's so early. Really? There's some good songs on this one. I thought Nuclear Attack, Rise of Evil, and The Name of God is really good now that I know what it's about. Huh. Angels Calling was good. At least he is so funny. I just caught that. Metalizer was the #1 unfavorited. I get because the topic, there's no really topic to it, but the music itself is good. Come on, guys, what's going on? I understand they're history musicians, but they weren't always that. Metalizer came out 3rd. Oh, that's probably why. He had both Primo Victoria, then Atel Dominatus, then all of a sudden out of nowhere they dropped Metalizer, which have already been written first, but I mean, they're already getting a nit in their niche, their niche.
It totally fell in the shadow of Primo Victoria, even though we believe that, I think that it's a stronger album, except for maybe the title track.
But it's also interesting that this song, especially, like, I was nearly 30 when the events of this happened. I wasn't just a kid or anything. And I was living in different parts of Europe at the time. Like at first I was living in Prague. I lived in Turkey for a while, and in England, in Scotland, and then in Sweden during all of this time. And you get a different spin on the events depending everywhere that you live. And especially when I lived in Prague and I worked in a nightclub, and we had so many refugees from everywhere in the Balkans working, younger people in their 20s who had just left to avoid the war. We had Serbs, we had Croats, we had Albanians, we had Bosnians, there were Christians, there were Muslims, there were just, and everybody had their own spin on the events. But actually one thing a lot of those people had, the people there, you would see the Serbs and Croats and Albanians and stuff all working in the same nightclub, and they got along just fine because they had left specifically to avoid the issues that led to the conflict. And that was quite interesting. But it is a very interesting topic, and it's a very complicated topic. And it's nice to go into the way that you guys handle it.
They said it's a complicated topic.
Well, thank you very much for today, Per.
Thank you.
And I guess we'll see you next time.
Here on the Sabaton History Channel.
I don't know, guys. Maybe did I space off and miss something? Because from the most part, it does seem like Serbs, were to blame. That the Bosniaks were pretty much the targets. I wrote I wrote a lot down, actually. I'm surprised I got all on one page. I'm trying to write smaller so I can get more on the pages. I'm running through my notebook so fast. I gotta chill. Or I need to start maybe putting notes on my computer. But I don't want to, junk it up with too much, I want to be able to have a lot of space on my computer. So yeah, I don't know how complicated it is unless I definitely missed something in the video. Maybe I wandered off in the head, but it did seem like it was pretty much one-sided violence-wise. The way it was one-sided while it was started by one side. One side was taking the initiative to do it. I mean, what's the complication? What am I missing? And like I said, if I did miss something, please let me know. And I see the comment, like I said, about how they're upset that only Serbians were to blame. But I'm kind of, I don't know, the way they explained it kind of did seem like it was a one side. But then towards the end of the song, Par and Indy were talking about how it's not just black and white. But the way he explained it seems clear cut. He only mentioned one side, really. He only told it from one side perspective. Did I miss something? What the heck? No, well, maybe I did. Maybe I missed like 2 minutes worth of something. Maybe I just started daydreaming or something. I don't know. Well, hope you guys enjoyed the reaction. I certainly enjoyed the video. Please let the history video continue in the comment section. I'm always willing to learn. I always like watching the comments. I do respond every once in a while. It's just so many. I don't like to do. I don't know how I do it. Usually when I'm on my phone and I see a comment pop up on my notifications, I'll respond to it. I only receive like maybe 2 or 3 comments. Then after that, any other comment after that, if I don't respond to those 3, they don't show up. They don't pop up on my notifications, and they're just in the background. A lot of stuff happening in my life. So sorry about that. Hope you guys enjoyed the reaction. I certainly enjoyed the video. Always love. So this is actually a new topic, like I said, and I really did enjoy it. Definitely got to do more deep diving, because I know you guys are gonna be in the comment section maybe explaining the other side. But I mean, the more knowledge for me, the better. So I might actually watch some off video topics regarding this exact subject. Hope you guys stay safe out there. Stay blessed. Please, God, tell someone you love them while you still can, because you never know when you'll be able to get to again. Whew. I'll catch you guys in the next one.